So this video is about how to create your specular and specular roughness map directly inside of Mari. So what we want to see here together using this TexturingXYZ tutorial is how we'll be able to replicate the information that we have using the volume, just like we did for the albedo, directly into the map, and how to set that so it's showing properly inside of the viewport. So what we want to do first out of the box is to show the difference, to show the spec only inside of the viewport. So we just simply double click on this Arnold surface standard material, and what I will do is just to kill the weight here. So this is what we have so far. Informations of specs will be controlled automatically using the volumes information, which means that the displacement, the Mari displacement on itself will come and break the specularity. We want the spec roughness, so for that reason you want the spec roughness to be at 0.5, so it's fully controlled by the volumes and the micro displacement informations. And the weight is maybe where you want to play a bit more, so you may do not want to get something that is a bit too bright like I do here. So for this reason, what I will do is just to create a map, but a really simple map, a black and white map that will control the overall weight of the spec. So maybe I want to get something like that. So in order to do that, what I will do is I will just create a color. Okay. This color will replicate the values I had before. So this one will become my spec weight underscore CLR for color. I will put that in scalar. Spec weight, as I told you, will be at about 50%. I can put that, so different ways of plugging that. You can plug it into the spec weight, or you can plug it into the spec color. So I will plug that into the spec weight. I think it's better to plug that into the spec weight. So you can, let's say for example, that you want to have a little bit of a tint happening to the specularity of the skin, which is also happening in real life. So you may want to have a little bit of a bluish color, so you can do it. Problem is, if you populate this spec weight color directly into the specular color of your shader, then you will not be able to play with that. Okay, and what I want to do is to Control C and Control V. This one will become my spec R color as well, and I will simply plug that directly into the specular roughness of my shader. And we should have the exact same effect as we had before, because we are using the exact same values, which is perfect. So what we want to do now is not to play with the secondary spec, with the primary spec, but when we are working on skin has a secondary spec, and this secondary spec is happening because of oiliness, the sebum that is generated on top of the skin. So that's why looking at cats, and we know that cats are not really sweating from the skin itself. So for this reason, you will not need to have this kind of secondary spec happening all over. You want to localize it. You want to localize this wetness happening, for example, on the eyelid, on this border of the eyelid. You want this wetness to happen on the nose, but you do not want it to happen all over. But anyway, just to show you the effect, what we will do is to use a clear coat. I already have the clear coat activated, but if I'm showing that even more, and I'm making that less rougher, because we are speaking about a really wet spec here. So we'll have a roughness of 0.3, for example, and a weight. So the weight will not be as visible as the former one, but this will help to show more in details the different volumes of your model. So you want to use that, but what you want to do is you want to control this secondary spec, so which is here show as a clear coat on top of your model. So you want to control that using a texture map. You do not want to get this secondary spec to dive inside of the skin pores. You want to block the inside of the skin pores. So in order to do that, you will simply have to use some mask information like we did before. So let me show you how I'm doing it. And what we'll be able to do as well is, again, we spoke about some areas having a bit more wetness, like the around the eyes, the eyelids, this border of the eyelid and the nose, and probably the lips. So what we want to do is to load the former ISOs we made, isolation masks we made directly in ZBrush. We want to load them and we want to use them to control the repartition of the spec. So let me just start by loading these masks information. I will load them into the ISO backdrop. So I will just create paint layer, can be in 2K, will be enough. Scalar informations. Click on OK. I have 2 layers, 2 ISO I want to load. I want to load the ISO eyelids underscore layer, and I want to load the ISO nose. Is it nose or lips? Yeah, should be lips underscore layer. Okay. Okay, so I will do right click, file, import. Okay, it's the correct folder. I want to load the eyelids here. Click on import all patches. Click on OK. So this is my mask. Perfect. And this one will be the lips. So do right click, whoops. File, import. And I will import the lips. And as you can see here, this mask has been inverted. So I just simply need to reverse them using, is it reverse or invert? So it's an invert node that I want to use. Okay. Inv. And just copy the name of this guy here. And okay. So I have these nodes that are now ready. So I will be able to use them, and I will be able to use them to control the spec, the wetness area of my model. So probably another one that I will want to use, again, we spoke about the nose. So I didn't make any on the nose, or what I think happened is that I made one for the nose and then ZBrush lost the UV, so I couldn't export it properly. So I will make a new one. ISO nose LR, select it, pen directly on the UVs, will be easier to isolate the different areas. Okay, and pen this guy in white. Bake it. Select this guy, copy, paste it, and transform, flip horizontal. Okay, so it's one bug. So it's a bug that is happening in Mari. I'm not sure why it's happening. So basically, when you have layers that are not connected to any channel, you cannot flip them, which is a bit annoying. So you have to create a temporary channel. Now when I'm selecting this UDIM, pasting it here, and do a transform, flip horizontally, it should work. Okay. So let's have a look at the model in our 3D world. So we can clean it a bit more, clean this mask. bake it will be easier to see it directly on top of the model. If you have you can create a new shader, a new standard shader, just to be sure that you can show things a bit better in the viewport. But anyway, we'll just make it like this for now. And I also want to fill the inside of the nose. So which patch it should be probably this guy. Paint that in white and bake it. So I have my mask that is working now. So what is happening here is that I have the gum that is going through the nose on this particular model. So it's working, but it's just that the model is far from being perfect. It's just something that I'm using as base to create my material. But anyway, I have this new mask that is working now, so I can start doing my spec. Save it. Probably I want to extend a bit of the nose. Whoops. Do something like that. Which I may want to do as well on the lips. Okay, and we have everything that is ready so far. So let's see how to control the spec. So in order to control the weight of the spec, what I want to do first is to have a look at what I have here. And the value that I'm using at the base is 0.2, which means that I will want to create a color node with a value of 0.2. Color, make that in scalar, and pick a value of 0.2 or 20%. This is my coat weight color. Okay, first value we are using here. Okay, that's perfect. And then we want to control the different areas. We want, for example, to have more specs, so we'll need to make it to become brighter. So what I like doing in this particular case is to start using the ambient occlusion, or I can use the curvature as well. So let's use a merge. Invert that like this. Okay. This merge will be in overlay mode. Normal contrast will be in overlay. And when you are merging things in overlay mode, what you need to do is to disable the color management here. Okay, maybe I can use a brightness lookup to control things a bit more. Okay, so what I want to do is to get more spec on the inside. Of the cavities. Like this. Okay, so I will make something like this. So inside of the cavities or inside of the ambient occlusion, we'll get more specularity. So let's rename that our coat curvature brightness lookup or BLU. Save it. Coat curvature merge. Save it again. And what I want to do now is to control the different areas. So I will again use merge or merge no alpha. Let's use merge no alpha, which is less expensive. I want to use a brightness to do that, and this is how we'll be able to play with the different specular levels. So with a brightness, and I want, for example, to get more specularity happening on the eyelids area. So I will connect this eyelid at the mask here, and select this brightness and make it brighter so I can have more spec happening here. And if I want to make it, or to control a bit more of this line, I can just slightly paint this mask out to make it a bit more defined, or to make it the way I want. Okay, so this one will become the control for our eyelid. BGT for brightness, eyelid merge, and we want to duplicate this control and create a new one for every areas that we want to play with. Okay, then the lips, connect the lips to this mask, and if I'm having a look at what is happening here, I should get more spec, more wet spec happening on the lips. And let's just rename things first. Lips underscore BGT. Save, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, put that like this, and finally we want to connect the nose. We just connect this layer, prefer to connect the layer instead of connecting the channel. It makes things to become a bit lighter in the node graph, but yeah, we can do it like this. And I can make this nose to become even more spec. And then I will simply have to go back on my layers. For example, I want to get rid of this on the lips because it should be controlled by the nose. Just have to pen some information back on my layer that is controlling all these different adjustment layer. So this one is our nose underscore BGT, nose underscore merge. So we have everything that is working now. Let's start doing a bit of cleaning into the node graph. So our spec2 or coat layer map is ready now. I mean, it has been controlled by mask. It's just missing one thing, and it's the appearance of the skin pores. So in order to do that, we'll do exactly like we did for the tertiary colors. So what I will do is I will start by contrasting it. So I can do that using a brightness lookup. Connect this Mary displacement to his brightness lookup. So different ways of doing that, and I think that the easiest way would be just to merge it on top of the other ones using a merge. So again, merge no alpha to make things cheaper. Kill the color management, put this one into. Oh, okay, it's not working with the merge no alpha. So we need to use a standard merge in order to use the overlay mode. And we just want to kill the color management. So darken, contrast, overlay. And I will just connect it like this. Okay, and I can kill the inside of the skin pores really easily using this method. So if I have a look now, let's rename things. This is my M disp, or I can rename that coat weight M disp BLU. Select this guy, merge it, rename it merge, and use this prefix on all the different names. So it's making my node graph to become even clearer. Like this, okay. And this guy, and now I can have a look at the effect of my map directly in the viewport. I just need to connect it to the coat weight, which should be, so where is my coat weight? Clear coat weight. And now we do not have any more of the spec weight, the wet spec, sorry, happening directly inside of the skin pores. So if I'm having a look at the model with the diffuse map, let's have a look at what it's doing. This is what I have so far. So this is not too bad actually. I'm having the specularity that is controlling the repartition of the albedo, the repartition of the color of the albedo, and also the repartition of the specularity. If I want the nose to be even more, to have even more spec, what I can do is to select this coat and make it brighter, and I should get more spec. Just make sure that at the end of your node graph, what I like doing is using a clump node, because you do not want to go over a value of 1. So using clump, mean value, usually I'm not using a value of 0, I'm using a value of 0.3 for example, or it can be 0.2, and maximum value can be 0.98 to clump the value of your map. So this is it for this video, and in the next video we'll see how to make the roughness map, the final roughness map, before we are transforming all of our control into a material. This is it for now. See you in the next video, guys.